Assalamu alaikum, marhaban. Welcome back to Languages with Helena. Today we are continuing on our series of the Arabic verb forms, and today we're having a look at derived form 2. So if you're not too sure about form 1 or you want a basic introduction to this topic, please go back to my first video in this series, but otherwise let's get started. So in the last video we looked at form 1. And here is an example of our form 1 verb. So we've got here kharaja, which means to go out, exit, or to leave. And we learned that it's really important with form 1 for us to learn what vowel sound goes on the middle letter in our infinitive and in our present tense, because it can be quite different. Sometimes it might be a kasra, sometimes, or in this case, it might be a fatha. Our form 2 verbs in some ways are slightly easier to learn because what we have to do for form 2 and the way we recognize form 2 verbs is that there will always be, the middle letter will always be doubled. So when I'm pronouncing it, here I need to say kharaja. It's like I'm saying the r sound twice. I would never write it like this. I could never write it like that. Instead, what I do is we have to add a shadda, so this kind of little upside down 3 shape, and then we have to add, it will always be a fatha on the top. So with form 2, the middle letter will always have a fatha as its vowel sound. So it's much easier to remember than form 1. And with our derived form 2, it kind of changes the meaning to the extent that it makes it sound like you're making someone do something. So for example, for form 1, we have kharaja, which just means to go out, to leave. So ana akhruj is like I am leaving or I'm going out. However, if I say kharajtu at-talib min al-ghurfa, then it could be, that would mean I made the student leave the class. So you're making someone, it changes the meaning to a causative meaning. You're making someone do something. Okay, I could also have darasa. So darasa means to study. But however, if I then add the shadda and the fatha to the middle letter, I have darasa, which means to make someone study. We would obviously say in English to teach. And then finally from our examples, we have alima, that means to know. And allama is another word which means like to teach or to instruct, if we want to be even more precise. And I thought we've got a really nice example here from the Quran. So where we can see actually like these verbs in context and how that meaning, how this subtle difference with the shadda and the fatha can really change the meaning. So alladhi allama bil qalam, so the one who taught with the pen. And then here, right in the same ayah, just a few words apart, we've got allama al-insan ma lam ya'lam. So he taught the people what they didn't know. So we've got allama at the beginning and ma lam ya'lam, what they didn't know. So just nice context for us. Another meaning that form 2 can create is that it can intensify the meaning. So for example, kasara al-kub just means he broke the cup. But if I double that middle letter with a shadda and fatha, then it becomes kasara al-kub, which means he smashed the cup. So he smashed it to pieces. It's a lot more intense than form 1. So kasara is just like broke, yeah, whatever, broke it. Kasara, smashed to pieces. Qatala means to kill, but qatala means to massacre. Yeah, so again, a lot more intense, a lot more violent. Jama'a is to collect or to gather. Jama'a is like to amass or to accumulate things. Okay, so it can intensify the meaning by quite a lot. And we can see this as well, another example from the Quran. So khalaqa means to lock, and there's this passage from Surah Yusuf where the Pharaoh's wife is trying to trap Yusuf, and we've got the word here, khalaqa, so I've highlighted it in pink. So khalaqat means like she really like firmly locked the door. So wa khallaqat al-abwab. So al-abwab is the plural of bab, so door. It means like she really locked it, you know, really doubly locked it, made sure it was completely closed. So again, a lot more intense than just ghalaka, just to lock. Okay, so when we're forming our form 2 in the present tense, what we need to remember is that it will always start with a dhamma. Yeah, so our first vowel when we're forming the present tense will be a dhamma. So our first letter will have a dhamma on it. So here we've got ushahib, so ushahibu, tushahibu, tushahibin, yushahib, and tushahib. Yeah, so we're going to have dhamma, then our first letter of that root, 3 letters, will have the fatha. We're then going to have shadda on our second root letter, and then a kasra as well. So it will always be a kasra in the present tense. So it's a fatha in the infinitive in the past tense. That drops to being a kasra though in the present tense. Okay, so usharibu, tusharibu, you tushahibin. Yeah, so it's going to sound slightly longer than when we're saying form 1. In form 1, if I want to say I drink, I just say ana ashrab. This one is slightly long because we have to just pay more attention to those vowel sounds, but it's easier because all form 2 verbs will follow this kind of pattern. Yeah, so ushahibu, tushahibu, tushahibin, etc. Yeah. Okay. Again, here we can see these are our dual forms, so saying you two, they two masculine, and they two, those two feminine. And then here we can see all of our more plural forms, again following the same pattern of dhamma, fatha, and then kasra, the shadda in the middle. Yeah, so nice and straightforward. They all kind of follow this pattern. There's no need to remember, like in form 1, what vowel sound does our middle letter take, because it's all the same for form 2. I've just decided like to highlight the first kind of letter here, because I've always found present tense difficult to remember because you have the different endings. For example, here in here we've got different endings, and then we've also got different beginnings as well. It's a lot harder, I personally find, than the past tense in Arabic. So just one thing that can help, that took me a while to realise, to be honest, is that whenever we're saying you, then it will always start with a ta. Yeah, so you drink, or you make someone drink in this case, would be anta tusharib. Yeah, so we can see all of the forms with you, they all have ta at the beginning. And then when we're talking like they or those two, then it's always going to be like a y sound, just like here. Yeah, so we can see all of these ones, they're all y. The only exception is when we're talking about they two for feminine. So we can see this is just an exception that we have to use, so tushahiban. Yeah, but apart from that, it does follow kind of quite a nice pattern. So that can help you learn the present tense if you're struggling. And here we have our past tense. As we know, like our endings are a bit easier, and it's always going to be that fatha is going to be our middle vowel. So we've got our shadda and then our fatha. Yeah, so it's a lot easier. We just take the 3 root letters. We don't have to change the vowel. So our 3 root letters, we don't change the vowel, and we just add our endings. So you can pause the video, make a note of these. And then this is our overview. So in our last video on Form 1, we looked at what all of these things mean, like active participle, passive participle. So if you're not too sure, you can have a look back at that one. However, this is what our pattern follows. So we have fa'ala, we've seen double our letter, yufa'il, we've just had a look at what that means. Mufa'il and mufa'al these are passive and active participles, and in our maSdar, we're just going to have a quick look at that now. So for example, here I've got ana uhib at-tadris, ana mudarrisa. So this is our active participle. So I've just taken my 3 root letters of darasa and I've made them fit this pattern. So that means that I start off with a meme. I have to put a dhamma on it. I then take my first root letter and I put a fatha on it. Then I double the middle letter and add a kasra, and then I've just got my last letter here. And then because I'm female, I've added tomabuta to make it agree, just like a noun. So ana mudarrisa, that means I am a teacher. Then, as we can see in this sentence, we've also got our maSdar. So again, I've taken the root letters, I've added a t to the beginning. The first letter will always have a sukoon on it. Then I've got my second root letter, then a ya, and then my third root letter will go at the end. So again, if I want to change darasa, which means to teach normally, yeah, so like darasa is to teach, but then fill it into this pattern, I end up with at-tadris, which means teaching. So I like teaching, I am a teacher. Okay. If we want to then think about how do we use our passive participle, then I can say something like هذه اللغات المدرسة في هذه الجامعة. We have to pay really special attention because, as we can see, the only difference here between our active participle and our passive participle is the vowel sound that goes on the second root letter. So for passive participle, it's always going to be your fatha, but however for active participle, it's going to be a kasra. And as we can see here, we've got a fatha on our middle root letter on our R. So that means it's passive participle. So we would say these are the languages taught in this university. Yeah, we just followed that pattern. Okay. This is a really useful verb to know. So daraba means to train. So again, if I want to say tadrib al-mudarrisin, then this is our active participle. So al-mudarris is obviously teacher. Mudarrisin is our sound plural for teachers. And then tadrib is another example of a maSdar. So that means training. So basically it's just like teacher training. Yeah, and finally, just to finish with a bit of a different context, many of you will probably have heard of this song El Mu'allim by Saad Lamjahid, a very popular Moroccan singer. This song has had over 800 million views on YouTube. So the chances are that you've probably heard it already. But this is an example of the active participle for form 2 in context. So, and into ma'alim is like you're the teacher. وَهْنَا مِنَّكَ نَتَعَلِّمْ. So, and from you we learn. This nata'allim means we learn. It's a form 5 verb. So we're going to look at that in a couple of videos time. But anyway, that's our brief overview of form 2 verbs. I hope that you found it useful, and inshallah see you again soon for form 3. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.